Welcome back to Dirty 20, everyone. Today we continue with our dive into the monster manual by taking a look at the hyena men of D&D, the Gnolls. Let's get on with the show. Thanks for joining us, lovely people. Now, as many of our regular viewers will know, I like complex bad guys. The greyer the better. Morally ambiguous. Nuanced. All of these things give me life. However, today we're going to be looking at one of the most irredeemable creatures we have looked at to date. Now, in 5e, Gnolls are connected to demons. A topic that we will definitely have to talk about some more. But demons are truly the evilest of evils in the Forgotten Realms. And at the top echelons of demons are the demon lords. Starting with the famed Demogorgon, including Lolth, the demon queen of spiders, but also Yinogu, the Null lord, the beast of butchery. This demon lord, as his name suggests, is the originator of Gnolls. One time, while on the material plane, Yinogu was on one of his killing sprees, as a demon lord is wont to do, and was being followed by packs of hyenas scavenging on the kills of the demon lord. These hyenas were then transformed into the first Gnolls, and once Yinogu was banished back to the abyss, they scattered across the world, becoming nomadic destroyers, plundering settlements and destroying almost everything in their wake. They tend to pick easy targets for their raids, preferring to burn and devour whole villages, and avoid fortified locations like castles and the like. They don't really produce things and have no real culture to speak of, preferring to scavenge weapons and armor, covering them in scalps, teeth, and strings of ears of their victims as decorations. In the monster manual, they're talked about in these terms. No goodness or compassion resides in the heart of a Gnoll. Like a demon, it lacks anything resembling a conscience, and can't be taught or coerced to put aside its destructive tendencies. The Gnoll's frenzied bloodlust makes them an enemy to all, and when they lack a common foe, they fight amongst themselves. Even the most savage orcs avoid allying with Gnolls. Now, as is the case when you only really have one page to describe an entire species, this can all seem a little bit reductive. If you get a chance to read through Volo's Guide to Monsters, there is a more expanded look at Gnolls in the section Insatiable Hunger. I recommend taking a look at it, particularly if you're thinking of including Gnolls beyond just a couple of combat encounters. But to be honest, it's more of the same. So how might I include Gnolls in one of my campaigns? Well, they are a clear evil that requires stopping, which sometimes you do need. If everything is a shade of grey, sometimes the more heroic elements of role-playing can get lost a little bit. Sometimes as a player, you don't want to have to consider, every nuance of a situation when you're playing. It's, like I say, it's just not necessarily always fun. Gnolls give you that simple evil that must be stopped at any cost. They are quite fun to run with their rampaging, which is something that we'll look at in our stat block dissection later on. Stick around for that. But they are a great way to introduce the Abyss and Demon Lords as a concept, which eventually can lead to the introduction of the Blood War, easily one of the coolest elements of Forgotten Realms lore. Now, in the past, I bought a brick of Icons of the Realms. These are blind boxes that have a number of unknown miniatures that are pre-painted. And in these packs, I actually got 2 copies of the Null miniature, identical. And this kind of gave me an idea for a couple of characters that I included in my homebrew city of Browick, a couple of Null twins. Now, initially, they're introduced as entirely unique, but a little bit more of a kind of comedic relief. I'm a really big fan of the hyenas in The Lion King.
It's not funny, Ed. Hey, shut up! Will you knock it off? Well, he started it.
But I do have a backstory for them that kind of explains why they are not kind of similar to their kin in terms of their, destructive, beastly nature. This involves a kindly wizard who experimented on the Gnolls. But did this help them, or did it make them into something that they're not? This is an area of nuance that you could bring to your campaign through Gnolls if you were inclined to do something similar. Nature versus nurture. Always an interesting question to pose to your players. The other plot hook that I kind of would like to use is using a Fang of Yinogu, which is a specific kind of Gnoll, and we're going to see their stat block a little bit later on. But these demon-possessed Gnolls create more Gnolls by, like the original Gnolls with the Yinogu, essentially feeding hyenas from their kills, creating new Gnolls. Now, I could see a lower level party being employed to go and stop the spread of this evil through a small area of land by tracking down and taking out the Fang of Yinogu. Now, before we jump into our second section, where we are going to dissect the stat blocks of the Gnolls in the Monster Manual, please make sure you have subscribed to the channel and hit that bell icon in order to be notified whenever we upload new videos. Okay then guys, let's take a look at page 163 of the Monster Manual, where we have 3 stat blocks to choose from. We have the basic Null, the Gnoll Packlord, and the Gnoll Fang of Yinogu. Also be aware that there are a further 4 stat blocks in Volo's Guide to Monsters, and they include the Flins, Gnoll Flesh Gnawers, Gnoll Hunters, and Gnoll Witherlings. Let us know in the comments down below if you would like us to look at those stat blocks and Volo's Guide to Monsters in general. But looking at the Gnolls in the Monster Manual, the standard Gnoll is a 1/2 challenge rating with 22 hit points and an AC of 15. Now, that's not too shabby for a half challenge rating, but definitely a minion. We have some different attack actions. We're going to look a little bit later at Rampage and Melee, but we have a spear attack at +4 doing 5 or 6 damage on average, as well as a longbow. But the Rampage feature, which is common to all Gnolls, is as follows. When the Gnoll reduces a creature to 0 hit points with a melee attack on its turn, the Gnoll can take a bonus action to move up to half its speed and make a bite attack. And that's where the bite attack comes in, which is +4 with a 4 average damage. And we'll see later, there's a little extra thing that the Fang has in terms of kind of a poison to its bite. I might consider giving that to a regular Gnoll, but you're definitely kind of increasing the challenge rating by giving them something like that. Now, we also have the Gnoll Packlord. And they're described thusly. The alpha of a Gnoll pack is the Packlord, ruling by might and cunning. A Packlord earns the best of a Gnoll pack's spoils, food, valuable trinkets, and magic items. It ornaments its body with brutal piercings and grotesque trophies, dyeing its fur with demonic sigils, hoping Yinogu will make it invulnerable. Now, the Packlord jumps up to a challenge rating of 2, with an AC of 15 and 49 hit points. Has a multi-attack with a glaive, which is +5 to hit and 8 average damage. But these guys, the cool action that they have is this Incite Rampage. They obviously have the Rampage rule as well. But Incite Rampage, a recharge of 5 to 6. One creature the Gnoll can see within 30 feet of it can use its reaction to make a melee attack if it can hear the Gnoll and has the Rampage trait. Now, Recharge 5 to 6 means that when you use it, you roll a d6, and on a 5 or 6, you can use it again next turn. It recharges. I'll be honest though, I would maybe allow this to happen every turn, ignoring the recharge on it, simply because it makes the Gnolls different, right? When you kind of encounter them in combat, and maybe the next time you encounter them, you're going to take that into consideration. But then we have the Null Fang of Yinogu, which, as I mentioned before, they're a little bit different. Let me just read you a little bit about them. Gnolls celebrate their victories by performing demonic rituals and making blood offerings to Yinogu. Sometimes the Demon Lord rewards his worshippers by allowing one of them to be possessed by a demonic spirit, marked as Yinogu's favorite. The lucky recipient becomes a Fang of Yinogu, the chosen of the Null Lord. In much the same way Yinogu created the first Gnolls, a hyena that feasts on a Fang's slain foe undergoes a horrible transformation, becoming a full-grown adult Gnoll. Depending on the number of hyenas in a region, a Fang of Yinogu can lead to a startling increase in the Gnoll population. Finding and killing the Fang is the only way to keep the population in check. And again, using that as the kind of the goal of a lower party, one of a lower party's earlier, adventures, so to speak, I think could be very, very successful. Now, in terms of their stats, they're a CR4 with an AC of 14, and 65 hit points. Now, notice that one of the biggest things that changes as the CRs go up is just an increased hit point level, making combat encounters simply last longer than be more challenging. And this is one of the criticisms of the CR system. But the Fang gives you a tougher fighter, hitting more often and dealing more damage, with its 3 attacks, and the possibility of poisoning a target that fails a DC 12 Constitution saving throw. So from the bite attack, which is +5 to hit and does an average of 6 damage, the target must succeed on a DC 12 Constitution saving throw or take 7 poison damage. So again, it's just a possibility of doing some more damage with them. But there we have it. 3 different stat blocks, which I think is always really nice because it gives you a little bit of variety rather than just, zombies or, skeletons or just goblins. It's nice to have some differing types of the same creature. And as I said, there's 4 more in Volo's Guide to Monsters, which is definitely worth checking out if it's something that you are going to be including in your campaign. There we have it, lovely people. Thank you so much for watching. Please let us know what you think about the Gnolls. Have you used them in your campaigns beyond just a couple of combat encounters? Let us know down in the comments below. Take care of yourselves and, as always, keep slaying. If you've enjoyed this content, then please smash that like button, subscribe, share this around online, and come and visit our website, www.lavictoriaproductions.com, to see all our past episodes, as well as our blog posts and all the stuff that we're currently working on at La Victoria Productions. Why not reach out to us and tell us what you think of our videos? You can reach us on Twitter. @MouthLaVictoria is our producer. We are also on Instagram. I am Enano LVP, and our producer is Jazzy J Cherot. We're also La Victoria Productions on Facebook and LinkedIn. Come on by and let us know what you think.